Welcome to Side Notes. I'm sitting here with a gentleman that from 1962 to 1979, he was a professional goaltender in the NHL and the World Hockey Association, played for such teams as the Rangers, the Sabres, Chicago Blackhawks, and in the World Hockey Association, he played for the Chicago Cougars, and he played for the Edmonton Oilers. I'm talking about Dave Dryden.
You've got a good memory to remember. That's a long time ago, Reg.
Well, you were also the first goaltender ever to wear the modern mask with a cage on it. How were you received when you started wearing that?
Well, actually, it was I had worn a regular fiberglass mask, the same kind as Jacques Plante started with and everything else. And I was getting near the end of my career, and I got hit a couple of times on the mask. And I thought, I don't want to lose an eye before I stop playing hockey. And I'd seen a lot of the European goalies wearing the sort of the helmet with the cage on the front. And I thought, well, it's not bad, but I just don't like it. So messed around with some stuff and went to a guy in Toronto and said, make this for me. And he made it up, and the rest is history. It's worked out very well. It gives you so much more protection than the fiberglass ones. And when I first wore it, the guys thought I was crazy putting this thing on. But the first game I wore it in was in Finland. We were with the Edmonton Oilers on an exhibition game trip, and a guy took a slap shot from the slot and hit me right in the head. And I fell down, and all the guys gathered around me, and then I thought, I'm not hurt at all. It didn't bother me in the slightest. So just stood up, played the game, and thought, this is my mask from now on.
And 1971, March 20th, you were the first goaltender ever to participate. Your brother Ken Dryden was playing for the Montreal Canadiens. You're playing for the Buffalo Sabres. First time in NHL history, the two brothers played on opposing teams as goaltenders.
You're right. That was a pretty memorable night, and my dad was down there to watch the game. There was a whole story behind it, to the point that it looked like we weren't going to be playing against each other. And then all of a sudden, the Montreal goalie got injured. They had to put Ken in, and as soon as Ken went in, Punch Imlach, who was my coach, said, Dave, in you go. I want to see history here. So we played, I think, against each other maybe 4 or 5 times after that.
And your late father and a gentleman by the name of Jim Hunt, they wrote a book you were talking about briefly before we started doing the interview. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that was a book, Playing the Shots at Both Ends, it was called, and it really was the fact that, we had 2 goaltenders in the family, which was quite unusual, and then to have us actually playing against each other was really unique. And Jim Hunt was a reporter in Toronto. I forget which newspaper, maybe the Telegram at the time, and he and Dad just got together and wrote the book.
And also the great one, Wayne Gretzky, went down in history books. He was the first goaltender to be scored against. Professional goal that Wayne Gretzky scored was against you.
You remember the darndest things. It's true. And the long part of the story in that was that, yes, Wayne scored on me. I was playing for the Edmonton Oilers in the WHA, and Wayne was playing for the Indianapolis Racers. He had just turned pro. He was, I think, only 17 at the time. And it turned out that his coach was Pat Stapleton. And Pat was an ex-teammate of mine with the Chicago Blackhawks. I went into Indianapolis the night before the game to play against Indianapolis, and I talked to Pat, and he said, I got this young kid on my team. I don't know what to do with him. He hasn't scored yet, and I may have to send him back to junior. And well, I looked after it the next night because he scored 2 goals on me. So every time I see Wayne, I remind him that without me, kid, you'd be back in junior.
And also in 1979, not only did you win the MVP for the World Hockey Association, you also won the Best Goaltender award that was presented to the goaltenders.
Well, that was an exciting year, and it was the year that was the last year of the WHA, and then the NHL started the year after, as far as Edmonton was concerned. And it was a good year from my standpoint. I had signed a contract that said that I could continue playing or I could continue coaching with Edmonton. And so partway through the next year, I then became a coach with the Oilers.
Now, since you retired from professional hockey, your late father, Murray Dryden, they founded, and your late mother, Margaret Dryden,
Right.
they founded the Sleeping Children Around the World. Interesting story on your website about how your late father was inspired to do it. Can you share that story?
Well, Dad had retired. He was about 60 years of age at the time, and this was just the time when my brother and I were playing pro hockey. And Dad loved to travel, and so he was over. He's told me two different things. He said one time he said it was in Pakistan, the other time in India. But the thing is, he was over on the Indian subcontinent there, and he was walking at night. And he said it was so dark I couldn't see anything, and I tripped on something, and it turned out to be a kid sleeping on the ground. And he just came home absolutely upset about it and said, you know, every kid should have a good night's sleep. I'm going to head back there with some money and make sure that I give some bed kits out to kids that don't have a place to sleep. And so this whole concept of a bed kit started then. And originally there was a mattress, pair of pajamas, pillow, blanket, sheet, and in some cases a mosquito net. And he just bought all of those items there. Then, and this was actually in Pune, India, where he did it first. And he gave out 50 of these bed kits, and he took pictures of the kids. Then when he came home and people said, you know, what have you been up to, Murray? He would say, well, I was over in India giving out bed kits, and here's pictures of the kids. And his friends would say, like you said, this is a friendly neighborhood around here. His friends would say, well, you know, here's $20, Murray, get a bed kit for me. And it just kept on going.
And also at the same time, that all your administrative costs are being covered by your late father, sold off some of his property before he passed on. I think about $3.5 million was raised, and that goes to administrative costs. So all of the money that's donated, 100% will go to buying these bed kits. All of that go to, I think, 33 nations so far.
Yes, no, you know your facts really well. And yes, I mean, this is, Mom and Dad just felt that whatever you donated in a charity way to anybody, all of it should go to where you wanted it to go. It shouldn't be used, nothing should be taken off for administration. So in the early years, they just paid any administrative costs out of their own pockets. Then when the organization got bigger, and Dad, he had some Christmas tree farms, and he decided to sell them, put that money into a Sleeping Children Trust Fund, and then the interest on that money could pay any of these other expenses. So that then when a person donated $30 for a bed kit, every single cent went to the children. And it's kept up the same way. This house is now owned by Sleeping Children as well, so we don't have to worry about you know, office space and all of that. It's right here.
And so far, you were just telling me right before the interview, 1.3 million bed kits have been handed out. I think over $20 million has been raised. One thing I love about your organization is that all money that you raise, you use the money in the nation where the bed kits are being handed out. So that way you're handing money over to the local economy of that nation, and you're helping to employ people within that nation.
Yeah, you say it very well. I mean, it is that if you land up, I went to Walmart one time here when the bed kit was costing $35, as it does now, and I took, actually right close to us here is a bed kit from India. And I went to Walmart and thought, well, I'm going to duplicate the items in this Kolkata bed kit and see how much it would cost at Walmart. Well, I was up over $90 and I still didn't have all of the items. And if you landed up then taking all those items and shipping them overseas, you'd add another $30 or $40 onto it. So Dad's idea of the money going overseas and purchasing the items there makes so much sense. And it does. We've got a lot of, I was just in Sri Lanka, and 4 of the items are made by cottage industry people who wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for the Sleeping Children items they're making.
And what are some stories as you travel all over the world? What are some children that you've met along the way that really stories really stick out in your mind?
Well, just over the time that I've been going overseas, I don't know, probably have given out 80,000 bed kits or something in that neighborhood. So you're seeing 80,000 children as you hand out these bed kits. The thing that is the neatest thing is to just look into their eyes and realize the potential and the happiness and the curiosity of all of these children. They're just exactly the same as the kids here, except they don't have some of the advantages that we have here. And the neat thing is that, well, just recently I was on a distribution and a teacher came up to me, and she had a number of children from her class that were receiving bed kits. It was out in the rural countryside of India. And she came up and she said, 15 years ago, I was given a bed kit. And she said, I've still got some of the items left at home. And it's like, wow, it really does make an impact. And what we do is we try to go back to areas where we've given out bed kits in the past to see the impact that they've had. And it's so neat to see how all of these items are used.
And also with malaria, an awful lot of third world nations, do you feel that your bed kits are helping to combat against malaria at the same time?
Hugely, especially in Africa. In sub-Saharan Africa, I think they say now a child dies every 30 seconds from malaria. And the thing that's really helping is they're called LLIN nets. They're insecticide-treated nets that the World Health Organization says are going to be the answer, and they really are working. So when we ask the people over there what they like in the bed kit, they love those mosquito nets.
And I want you to quickly share, there's that saying just behind me right there we noticed as we were walking in. Can you quickly share that saying?
Well, the saying is keeping the dream alive. And the whole idea, of course, with sleeping children is this is so multifaceted. I mean, the deal is you really want children to get a good night's sleep, because if they get a good night's sleep, they aren't grumpy in the morning. They're ready, they're curious, they're just ready for school. So sleep is very, very important to all kids. The other thing is my parents had a dream, and the dream was they thought that every child should be able to get a good night's sleep. And so our thought is we want to keep their dream alive. You don't solve these problems or these situations in a year or 2 years. We've been going for 43 years now, and we just want to keep their dream alive.
And are there any events coming up in the Toronto area or somewhere else here in Canada where people can go to meet you or even give donations?
Well, the easiest thing is, I mean, we are based in Toronto more than anything else. I would suggest that maybe 40% of our donations come from the GTA and surrounding area, sort of a thing. We don't run functions to raise money. People that like us do that for us. We have goulash, there are goulash parties, there are golf tournaments, there are all of these things. We don't run them. Others come to us and say, look, we would like to raise money for sleeping children. Can we do such and such? And what we'll end up doing is giving them any information brochures or anything like that to help them. And we try to attend ourselves. But the best way to find out what we're doing is to get onto our website at scaw.org. And on it, there is a section that talks about what Sleeping Children is up to. And aside from that, every $35 that's donated is a bed kit for a child, and the donor will get a picture of that child. So if they want to do that, either by sending a letter to us or by going online, that's the way to do it.
And they can also contact you through the website too.
Absolutely. No, we're trying to get into this social media thing and everything else. And there's so many ways that you can communicate. Our whole thing was we don't pay for advertising. We don't spend 1 cent on advertising because, we want all the money to go to the children. So in effect, it's word of mouth that is the way we do things.
Well, thank you very much for your time. In closing, do you have any final words you wish to share?
No, not really. I guess the neat thing is you mentioned that we've been in 33 different countries in the 43 years. Right now we're going to 9 different countries. And the great thing is that in all of these countries you find wonderful children, and you also find the greatest people and the most unselfish people that you can imagine. And they're all trying to do the same thing in their countries to help their children out as best as possible. And so you come back from a distribution of bed kits with a whole positive attitude towards the world. I mean, we're heading in the right direction. It's going to take a while, but there's so much goodwill out there with people, and that's not what you read in the newspapers every day.
Thank you for your time there, Dave.
You're welcome, Reg.